Yeah, so I've moved my car up a wee bit back to my familiar view. I'm also going to remove my feather so it doesn't reflect on the windscreen. That's my lucky feather, my protector. If you see any feather, especially white feathers, pick them up and thank the angels. So the story regarding, in fact I can see trucks away in the distance. Let me just, before I tell you about up and down. Can you see on this camera any vehicles in the distance? Probably not. The zoom's not too bad, but that's my problem when I'm in the mountains. It doesn't zoom far enough for me on some occasions. But anyway, they're obviously shooting up there today. I got information from up and down when she was in Ascension in Paraguay that she was returning to Europe, and she'd spent a stint in South America as a nun, and what she had explained to me was she was going to Greece. There was some kind of, high-ranking agreement that the Greek Orthodox Church and Rome would try and get on a little bit better. And in that period, I can't remember exactly when it was now, but in that period, Up and Down went to represent the Vatican in Athens. So she contacted me once she was settled in Athens, and she said, "Can you come over?" And I said, "No." I said, "I'm not bloody going to Greece. The last time I went to Greece, I got rabies and almost died." So she didn't know about that, but it was when I got bitten by a stray cat when I was having lunch inside a restaurant. And anyway, I said to her, we kind of made a compromise, and I said, what we can do is I'm going to be in Turkey on these dates, and what I can do, I'm going to be in Bodrum. I'm staying not far from Bodrum. And I said, I'll catch a ferry over to Kos. So if you can make your way to Kos, we'll have something to eat, and then we can get a ferry back to Turkey. So that was all okay. She was on a break, so it was all done timely. So she had sat with me, and I think it was a pork roulade she had for lunch that day, and it was smothered with some sort of apple puree. I remember that very well. And she consumed a fairly large amount of Dimatican Greek wine. One of her favourite white wines, apparently in Greece, was Dimatican. And anyway, she was slightly tipsy, and I think there was a conversation I can remember when things were. Well, we were together in the UK, and I remember I had a head injury. I can't remember why that injury occurred. I think I'd fallen from some rocks when I was mountain climbing, and had gone to hospital and received some stitches for the injury. And when I returned home, we were sitting chatting over the kitchen table, and she hit me with a wooden spoon. She bashed me over the head with a wooden spoon and dislodged the stitches, some of the stitches, and had to return to hospital to get them restitched. And apparently this was all because I'd ruined her weekend by having to spend time in the hospital rather than with her. And I didn't make too much of a fuss, but I did say to her, you shouldn't hit people over the head with wooden spoons. And she said, well, it's okay for Mother Superior to do that. So she enlightened me on the story regarding being clobbered with a wooden spoon when she was doing kitchen duties in one of the convents. So anyway, we got ourselves together and we boarded the ferry from Kos, and we sailed over the straits of the Adriatic into Turkey. And the mountains, the weather was splendid, it really was. But the mountains that fall away to the shoreline just around that area is quite dramatic, very beautiful. And as we approached Bodrum, the castle, we then entered the harbour area, and I'll put some pictures up. Whilst in Turkey, she was very fond of listening to the Amir in the multiple mosques that surround the area. She enjoyed listening to the Amirs at morning prayer and lunchtime prayer and evening prayer and stuff like that. She was very fond of that. But when we had disembarked from the ferry, I ordered a taxi, and we hailed a taxi actually, and we set off for the villa that I had rented. A very splendid affair. I'll put some pictures up of this very quaint private villa with our own pool, and we spent some rather wonderful days together in Turkey. It was the only time I ever saw her wear a complete white outfit, including the colf and the skull cap and veil. It was all completely white. She was very picturesque. Pleasant, facial features that were illuminated by this white nun's gown. But of course, once we arrived in Turkey, she changed into something less formal, and as I say, we had a very splendid time in Turkey. And she became very fond of the dog called Chuckles. And the dog, I'll put a picture up of this dog. It resembled something more like a grizzly bear than a dog. It was certainly well, I think it was. It made more noise when there was other dogs around. There was an alpha male in the canine world, and no dogs ever appeared near the place because of this dog called Chuckles. I dare say if it sank its teeth into your throat, you wouldn't be chuckling. But nevertheless, it was a very happy dog. The people in Turkey were very friendly, of course, and of course up and down continued to consume as much white wine as she could get her hands on. Something she wasn't allowed to do whilst in convent. But she was very fond of most white wines, as I've said already. But she certainly liked anything of a vintage variety. Mainly the 1960s. It seemed to be a good decade for the grapes in the 1960s. I dare say it was something to do with less pollution or something. But so I just wanted to share some more stories of when we were having these, very, very fond get-togethers, very memorable times. It's such a it's such a shame that we have kind of tumbled our way into an area of separation and silence. It's not befitting of either of our personalities to be separated from each other or to be silent. So this is Amaury today. You may hear some noises in the background. It's just people from the hall who have been enjoying cake, soup and tea. And that birch tree is one of the strongest trees I've ever seen. It's always been battered by the winds of Amaury.